Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about the month ahead of April 2024, the comprehensive astrology. As usual in this video, I will be doing some intuitive messages about the month of April, followed by an overview of the transits with some charts on the screen. This should all be detailed below in video chapters. Let's talk about April. We're moving quickly. Okay, we're not in the previous headspace that we were before. April 2024, of course, is the height of eclipse season. Specifically, if you're on the North American continent, it will all be shadowed out by the April 8th total solar eclipse. Do subscribe below if you want to get notified when I make a video about that specific transit. Although quite quickly we'll be through that. Of course, the events happening then will echo for the rest of the year. But we're going to start getting into a much quicker mindset. That's the first intuitive message that I'm feeling. Aries is coming through. We have Kiren and Mercury doing a little dance this month, with Mercury going retrograde in Aries on the 18th. We have entering into April, and we'll talk more about this in the astrology portion, but I just feel like this is really relevant to the intuitive messages. Mercury and Kiren being in Aries, as well as the sun applying up to them, our mind is wanting to speed things up a little bit. We're not feeling comfortable being bound down in these like never-ending conflicts, being stuck in emotional difficulties, being stuck or entrenched or enforced within some type of status quo is going to weigh really heavily on us. And there's going to be this sort of like need really starting to get profound in April for a lot of people to just move on with things and to step into new territories. Now, as you all know, I've been talking about this quote-unquote new life want that a lot of people are having here, and that's going to be really augmented and visceral for a lot of people during this time. For some rare people, it's appropriate, but for most people, there is a winding down occurring. So most of our weight coming into the month of April is placed into the sign of Pisces, and we have really substantial placements there. So we have inner planets there, and we have outer planets there and asteroids. So there's a kind of across the board feeling of being in a final chapter of unfinished business, of finding new resolutions. And while this has been very conscious for people for even the last few years, I would say, it's going to start to pick up pace in April. Okay, so any unfinished business that you've had may have to like really quickly be followed through on. There could be like a flurry of events or a need to pick up the pace in a lot of different areas, to turn off the procrastination, to be healthier, to amp up the body connotation of what you're doing. So this is going to be a wonderful month for the health of the body, okay? And for embracing more solid mindsets that help you to take your body's health more into account. This is going to be a very important month for stopping unhealthy habits, especially relating to diet and the body. We have a huge conglomeration of energy coming to Taurus by the end of the month and moving towards May. So we're going to move from this sort of like very Piscean, emotionally charged energy quickly through Aries and then into Taurus. So there's like a wrapping up, a new picking up of the pace, and then a very heavy focus coming in to the body and to the diet, okay? So working with April of 2024, as I'm feeling it intuitively, I feel like a lot of people are kind of stunned with the way that things have turned out. For some people, it's really positive. It's like, I could not preconceive this outcome, and perhaps I don't necessarily see it as optimum, but there's a very guarded way that things are working, and there is a very prosperous development around the corner. I'm seeing a lot of people are placed into situations during this month where they see how to get to the next level very clearly, or they resolve an issue of not having like a very good purpose in front of them and maybe feeling scattered or chaotic or unresolved in some way. April is a wonderful month to develop a new resolution. Yes, we are in eclipse season. Something is going in and something is going out. Okay, so there's a replacement of something during this time. Again, this is on the 1st, 7th house axis collectively in the signs of Aries and Libra, which I've made videos about. So check out the description box below to see more of that. We are basically trying to fix what is broken during this month, especially again with the way that Kiren and Mercury are also close to this eclipse point. So we're getting rid of things that don't work. A lot of people are quitting certain things. I'm seeing the quitting of jobs. I'm seeing quitting certain eating habits, certain addictions. And I'm seeing also a need to have replacements. Okay, so I suppose that this is a wider conversation about negative presence in the life, okay, or any type of addictive cycles. It's very hard to kick it sometimes because we don't have something to replace it with, or we have these empty spaces, or we have these disconnects that become visible when we start to work out certain negative things from our lives. And this is going to become a potent linchpin in our cycle of development in the month of April. So like, as we start to get certain negative things out of our lives, as we start sort of cycling through some negative thinking patterns as well, what is left in place? Okay, as you go through a sort of internal eclipse system there, like what is left in place once you cycle through or resolve or remove certain negative things? Being mindful about this is going to really make the difference in April. So I don't have this really negative person perhaps in my life anymore, or this really abusive or narcissistic person relationship in my life anymore. But what I do have is now this new career focus, okay? Or perhaps I don't have this backbreaking job in my life anymore, but what I do have is a wonderful new living situation, or a wonderful new bed even, or something. Like, you see how it kind of like lines up. It's like, okay, as I remove something really negative in my life, I have to add something that addresses or begins to heal what that negative thing was breaking. So we can't just remove the negative thing and leave that open void space and not expect to have some type of internal fragmenting. We have to really be mindful about the replacement. So keeping that in mind, I'm also feeling intuitively April 2024, anybody can be like replaced. Okay, so you can be like replaced, and this can have a very positive outcome, but it's easy to be broken up with during this time. It's easy to have a disconnect from a career. It's easy to have pretty much any type of replacement that you can imagine. And we just have to do our best, I think, to do this in as positive and healthy a way as possible. Even if you experience loss in any way, try to see that as more of an opportunity to do what matters now. As I do see a lot of people's time, money, energy being taken up by things that are not in time. And this eclipse energy in April, this strong Aries energy coming in, it's really clearing out and again cycling through some of these old outworn situations so that we can actually start putting our energy to what matters, and so that we don't have a lot of distractions and a lot of excuses anymore to not do what really matters. So that is going to be hard for a lot of people in the beginning, but I think that people will look back to this period of time as an important milestone in a very important progression that was long-term in their lives. Now, one other thing I want to talk about intuitively before we get into the astrology. There's something that needs to redirect. Okay, so this is kind of along the lines of replacements, but it's different. So I'm feeling that it is made very clear and very crystallized any of the things in our lives that are not supporting us, or any of the things that are like wasting our resources. And even if those things aren't directly or permanently resolved right during April, there has to be some type of resolution. So I really think resolution is the key word this month for most people, because it feels like without that sense of resolution, or without that sense of working towards a longer path or some type of like more important time, that people can really start wasting a lot of time, energy, and resources. So there's this spectrum of like reserving versus wasting here, definitely along the line of resources, definitely along the line of just life force energy, and how we use that or summon that from day to day. So a lot of the Patreon content in March that I was getting was really revealing how there's such a high cost to summoning more energy than is natural, or to overdoing our energy, or to overworking, overproducing. And I was seeing how at an energetic level, a lot of people were sort of like putting off a sort of like toxic byproduct of basically overusing their energy, overworking, or overdoing things. Something along these lines has to be addressed at a strategic level, because this is a very good month for strategy. We have the Aries-Libra axis really coming up, and we have also the sign of Aries being surrounded by both Taurus and Pisces. So we have the very old energy and the quite new energy on both parts. So it's not easy, but you can come to very realistic, balanced decisions here. But a lot of these decisions, you all, are not going to feel good at first. A lot of them are not going to feel as immediately gratifying, but through them, we will truly open up a lot more meaningful of a path, I feel. So that's important to know if you are having to make any difficult choices in April. Let's go ahead and talk about the astrology. Okay, I'm going to pull the charts up on the screen. One of the first things that I had noted down about this was that we have Mars debilitated through the entire month in the sign of Pisces. And this kind of like contradicts the eclipse in the sign of Aries. So you can actually see that there's like a double debilitation in the Mars archetype, because eclipses can be kind of a debilitating force as well. But they can also be complicated. They're not always bad. Debilitations are not always bad either. But yeah, we have a lot of difficulty channeling through Mars. Mars in Neptune's sign of Pisces. And by the end of the month, it's going to conjoin Neptune. What are the odds of that? So that's like a triple debilitation, actually, of Mars having this eclipse season, as well as Mars and Pisces, as well as a Mars-Neptune conjunction in Pisces, and a Mars-Saturn, which is we'll call it a quadruple debilitation, because Mars and Saturn also do not do well together. So, you guys, I gotta be honest, it's not the best time to make some type of grand action here. So we have things in resolving statuses right now. We have things in conclusive, yet to be concluded, yet conclusive places. So it just feels that things are not quite done yet. Things are not quite ready. And it kind of is frustrating for so many of us, because we have this natural equinox period. We are in the astrological new year. We want to get things done. So many people are wanting changes. So many people are wanting these quote unquote new lives. And at the same time, it just doesn't really feel great for the big decisions, the big purchases, the big, almost, if you can imagine, like ever since, I don't know, 2018 to 2020, you've been building increment by increment, like creating, winding up to this big climax point. And I feel that to force that through right now might end up in a kind of like, wah-wah, like it's like not that wonderful how it kind of all resolves here with all this weighty stuff in Pisces. It's kind of like a tear-stained and like wah-wah energy. So careful if you're making any like huge decisions. I'm not saying that everyone's decisions, I don't want to make you worried or freaked out about the decisions that you're making. There are rare people who can make really powerful decisions here, but a lot of these decisions are at the mindset level, or they're so easy because you've built up resources for so long that it doesn't like feel like you're putting that much on the line. But you want to really pay attention. Like if you have anything in your life that has this feeling, it's like, okay, I'm going to make the decision now. I'm going to use everything that I have now. I'm going to like finally like step out on the limb. Well, you don't want the limb to break, and you don't want to step out on a limb that's not sturdy, or you don't want to like also put everything into expanding in a territory that you don't even like in the first place. I'm seeing a lot of stuff like that because people are like trying to take the previous context, or they're trying to take like their understanding, their conscious understanding of what has been emotionally relevant to them for such a long time. And it's like kind of lukewarm because you have so much fire and water here. And the water's actually kind of outweighing the fire. So it's like a lukewarm or even slightly cool bath. Okay. So what's better, I think, is to look to the future and to look to, I don't want to inspire future tripping, but to look toward a time of waiting for some people, or like I'm seeing like waiting rooms. I'm seeing like vestibules, rooms that are meant to connect to more climactic story points. Do you know what I mean? Like, so this is not maybe the main sector that we need to be in, or like this is like a connecting area, not a full-on sort of like cinematic or shift-oriented area karma that a lot of us are in here. But something's happening that's so grand that might be outside of our control or outside of our knowledge that needs to kind of like work itself out before we settle too much or before we really rush or force a certain outcome. So basically, it's a great invitation to not rush and instead to try to really focus on what doesn't work and resolving or fixing that this month. Also, for some people, there are a lot of tears this month. It's a good month, okay, to let it out. Great month for channeling energy. So Mars in Pisces, a positive way that can be channeled is by sweating, okay, crying. Like, we don't want to get crazy, but like trying to like work out the energy, trying to get it out, trying to also know where the triggers are, okay? So if you have a difficult relationship with someone, I wouldn't expect to see that heal here. I wouldn't want to, and it's something that people are also going to be doing is like, I'm going to give it one more chance. Maybe for the 30th time that I try to broach this issue with this person, maybe it's now that they'll understand my perspective, even though the other 29 times I've walked away from that conversation feeling a lot worse. Maybe it's this time that I'm going to feel better. You see, we want to be smart here, okay? We want to understand the momentums, and we want to understand, okay, 29 times, this has been hard. I don't think that I have to try that again. I don't think that I have to go back there as well. But at the same time, a lot of us don't want to like really lurch forward either. So waiting it out could be very strategic for a lot of people here, but also I understand that can lend itself to feeling stagnated, but I'm getting a lot of signs lately that have been saying just like kind of like wait, just allow this stuff to pass. There are things like in the ether that are trying to like work themselves out that you may need to know the result of before you make a huge change or choice now. Also what we see with like all this Pisces concentration this month, Mars, Saturn, Venus, Neptune, minor asteroid of Nessus, misplaced escapism, misplaced emotional purging. Okay, there can be kind of like negative coping mechanisms, and what we need to do is we need to allow things to work themselves out here. Careful about inserting yourself into other people's emotional problems, and also understand that there may be other people trying to insert themselves in yours. That's why Mars is debilitated in Pisces. It's like the over pushing or over assertive energy wrapped around these more like ethereal or emotional concepts. It's like overbearing in Pisces. So anything that feels that way. Also, I would say something relating to privacy or relating to that which is hidden or that which is unknown can be revealed here. And that was coming from March again with all of that energy, especially when the sun was in Pisces. But now as Mars comes through, there could be more of this kind of like assertion or insertion of consciousness into these like hidden Piscean elements. Something else that's very significant about April is the dance that Kiren and Mercury are doing. So we have Mercury, it comes up and it passes Kiren. Actually, that happened in March. We start April with Mercury surpassing Kiren, and we actually end it with it behind Kiren again. So Mercury retrogrades and it like moves in tandem with Kiren. That's very esoteric to me. That's really a lot of it may be a great time to study esoterics or to study astrology, to study energy or healing modalities. Okay, that's going to maybe bring a lot of consciousness within the collective to these types of studies. We have Kiren, of course, the wounded healer, connecting with Mercury, who is retrograding around the similar degrees of Aries. Again, this is another Mars connection as well, because they're in the Mars-ruled sign of Aries. And it's just feeling really assertive, and that's what I keep getting, like with the Mars energy. It's like something is inserting itself here, something is really trying to like be forceful, and it's at a thought logic level, it's at a more energetic spiritual level with Mars and Pisces, it's at a very material level with Saturn and Pisces, and of course connecting to Mars, and then it's also at this just more deep philosophical, on Kiren's part, but very logical and just daily mundane kind of communicative level with Mercury. And then we have the eclipse as well. Okay, so like the sun and moon and the nodes. It's very concerning to me, some of the conflicts that could also come up here. So this could be new military types of conflicts possibly, or it could be different mindsets and ideologies about the concept of war or the concept of conflict. Like you could see people getting on different levels with that, and maybe there are like new schemes of justification or something, or new ways in which people justify or feel better also at a smaller level, okay, not just at like a global level, but even say in relationships or in families, like how people justify being angry or being extremely assertive or being very controlling over any type of life experience that you can even imagine. But it does kind of look like an escalation to me. It looks as if certain disputes cannot be resolved, at least in the minds of a lot of people. Certain disputes cannot be resolved without some type of very directed conflict, or without really controlling or inserting, being like very forceful. Okay, so it's important for us to know that this is going on, because it helps us to kind of maintain our own safety, or to maintain our own auric preservation, and really keeping a sort of sense of distance and peace in our own lives is very important here, because that's definitely just something that is unresolved or undecided for a lot of people, like how much they're prioritizing their own peace, how much they're prioritizing stillness and gentle-handedness, okay? As I feel like a frustration that's really brewing, and these eclipses are going to like really bring that to the surface, and it's going to demonstrate itself, and it's going to take a lot of patience and maturity to not face these things that come up here in such a conflicted way. Another thing that I had written down is like spiritual warfare and the unfolding of things happening at a very ethereal level. I feel that a lot of the changes happening right now are more so at this level, and it's not to make you worried or anything, but I do just keep getting the feeling that there are a lot of things that just have to resolve, that are not necessarily in our control, or not necessarily something that we even directly understand, before we go like really asserting our own changes, or before we start enforcing certain life changes in our own experience. Big decisions, being the fool archetype or whatever, is not great here. With all of this sort of debilitated Aries energy, we have to be very prudent, and we have to be very mature, and sometimes even perhaps make sacrifices to maintain certain things that work in the long term, and to not discard or disregard those things on a whim or on an impulse, because I just feel that impulsivity is really misplaced here with all of the debilitated Aries energy. And I also feel that how complex things have gotten, and how also autonomous some of the coalesced energy is. It's just like a lot for me to consider very grand individualistic changes, because it's very liable to be at the whim of some type of greater force. I also feel that April holds a lot of wisdom for us when it comes to the past and past reversion. Now, I usually wouldn't recommend this during Aries season, but this is only because we have this intensive eclipse energy and all of this Aries debilitation. Okay, we have to understand where things have gone wrong. We have to understand also why certain timelines resulted in some of this scorn or in some of the pain, and we have to start to right some of that, and we have to maybe take on some good deeds during this time, or do things that are not just helpful for one person, or not just for personal gain, but maybe that help other people in a meaningful way. In a way, I also see that this could be a very powerful time of karmic delivery, and I see that many people have to be more prudent from here forward. So it's important to also maybe do a survey in your own life, like where have I been childish, where have I been immature, where have I been too geared towards personal gain? Where have I lacked security? What things am I holding on to or keeping in my life that are a danger or present some type of unneeded vulnerability? In what way am I trying to escape or run from conflicts that actually need my presence? How could I maybe bring more peace to these conflicts through my presence or through some type of contribution rather than turning and being oblivious or being disconnected? And through these types of questions and exploring along these lines, I think that people will start to open up new connecting points for new relationships, actually. Finding more people like yourself, finding people who are more supportive of your vision will also be a possibility through doing this time right or through facing the realities of your situation. And there's a certain penance I feel that some people are having to go through here, or a karmic delivery, and you might just be experiencing that vicariously, like you could see someone else in your experience having to go through something difficult or having to even pay something back. Or if you're in that place, it can actually be done very easily just through certain release spectrums in your life, meaning through releasing something negative for you, you can actually pay back a certain karma, or you can really clear up a lot of your own path through sort of giving up things, or through, again, we have Eclipse, we have Pisces energy, we have a lot of debilitated Aries. So it's indicating that there's something that's released here, or there's something that's no longer done, there's something that's no longer vulnerable, and also perhaps there are certain impulses that aren't being followed, right, with the Aries Eclipse energy. There are certain things that we might have very easily considered for ourselves before that we're kind of more hesitant about now, or perhaps there are just things that we used to partake in that we can't waste our time with anymore. So it's very great to analyze this. It's very great to be thinking every day about these kinds of things and taking it very seriously, because as we move through April and into May, we start getting into that really strong dragon energy where it's wanting us to really get something done. It's wanting us to no longer have certain vulnerabilities. It's wanting us to buy houses, to build things that work for years and years to come, so that we don't have to put ourselves out into certain vulnerable territories in order to pay someone else's bills or rent something, or there's a need to start to overcome certain harsh economic difficulties, I feel, as well by working. So we are looking at perhaps an increased work spectrum for some people, or contrarily, we're looking at having to really get into what matters and not waste time in an in-between zone, if that makes sense. So just keep that in mind, that by the time we get to May, not going to have a lot of time for the past reversion stuff, not going to have a lot of time, as much time at least, for a lot of people reflecting and just kind of feeling it out. We have to really be action oriented, and it's going to be a little bit more energy needed to fulfill what May through September or October demands for reaching the next hurdle. So anyway, everyone, that's about it. That's all I have to say about April. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button below. Do comment and let me know how you feel about the month of April. What do you think about all of this eclipse energy and wild transits that we're having? This channel is on Patreon. All of the April 2024 individual sign readings will be over there. You can get that at the first link in the description box. I do weekly forecasts called T-Chats as well. So come check that out. It's a wonderful time during this eclipse season. There's so much stuff to talk about, and it's so important to be mindful about the macro changes that are going through, and I try to address those things over there. So come check it out, and good luck with this month, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great one. Bye.